Truth Unveiled here, and I want to update you all with this so-called Zika virus that's been going on and the outbreak, and just tell you all the real agenda and what's at hand. Now, I have a lot to share with you all, so I want to get right to it. As you can see, this is a rare virus that's been outbreak and spreading, and so I'm going to just share a few articles with you and give you sort of my 2 cents on it, but I please just want you to know the agenda and what's really at hand here and why you need to be aware and why alarm bells need to be ringing. Now, I'm on Wikipedia, and I'm going to read a little bit with you, but it says, as of early 2016, the most widespread outbreak of the Zika virus in history is ongoing in the Americas. The outbreak began in April 2015 in Brazil and subsequently spread to other countries in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Though in January 2016, the World Health Organization, or WHO, said that the virus was likely to spread throughout the majority of the Americas by the end of the year. Now, the World Health Organization, or the WHO, as we see this alphabet soup here, I'm going to tell you why they play a big role in this later on. Subsequently, in February 2016, the WHO declared the virus outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. Now, when you start to see that, that should be raising some red flags, and I will tell you why, and we'll go to these articles here as well. The virus is mainly spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which is commonly found throughout the tropical and subtropical Americas, and it tells about how it's been widespread in the US and how it's found in the Great Lakes area. At least this is what they want us to believe. It says the majority of Zika virus infections are asymptomatic, making estimating the number of Zika virus infections difficult. In around 1 in 5 cases, infection with Zika virus results in a minor illness known as Zika fever, which causes symptoms such as fever and a rash. However, Zika virus infection in pregnant women has a suspected link with newborn microcephaly by mother-to-child transmission, and in very few cases, Guillain-Barré syndrome, sorry if I'm butchering that, and a number of countries have issued travel warnings due to this so-called virus outbreak. And as you can see here, here is a list of the different countries in the Americas that have already have outbreaks. As you can see, according to them, Brazil has an estimated 1.5 million confirmed cases as of January 30th. So not too long ago. Is there an agenda going on with this Zika virus? I'm going to show you just what that agenda could be. I'm at the World Health Organization website, and I'm sharing their statement that they released on the 1st of February 2016, so just today actually. But it says the WHO statement on the first meeting of the International Health Regulations, or IHR 2005, Emergency Committee on Zika virus, an observed increase in neurological disorders and neonatal malformations. So this meeting was confirmed by all the cases that was going on, and basically they talk about the disorders and the research that they've so-called found and the areas that are infected with this virus and the precautionary measures that they want. And as you can see, listen to this and just listen to how dangerous this is sounding and just what it's the agenda. Surveillance for Zika virus infection should be enhanced with the dissemination of standard case definitions and diagnosis to at-risk areas. So in other words, what is your government trying to do? We know for a fact that the World Health Organization is the one behind this disease. They're the ones spreading it. And I'm going to show you more articles that prove that for a fact. We know that the government causes the problem and offers the solution. What is the problem that they're trying to cause? They're trying to cause this pandemic. Could this be the pandemic that they're trying to cause? I don't know. However, I do know that it is something to pay attention to. Now, when you see the word surveillance, that should ring some alarm bells, because what are they trying to do? The government wants more control. How do they get more control? Through surveillance, through monitoring. They already know everything there is to know about you, but now this is how they plan on doing it. But is that the only agenda behind this? If we go to a different article, we see that the WHO Director General summarizes the outcome of the emergency committee on this virus. And he talks about what he says the threat is and how this threat could affect the nations worldwide. He calls it an extraordinary event and a public health threat to other parts of the world. Now, I found interesting that one thing about this disease that really made it interesting is that one, they're already issuing travel warnings for people who so-called have this disease or who have so-called have been diagnosed with this disease. But what's also interesting is that it has a lot to do with pregnancy. And I thought that was interesting, especially with mothers who are nursing children. Hello, does that sound like depopulation? Yes, it does. So, and we can see right here, a coordinated international response is needed to improve surveillance, the detection of infections, congenital malformations, and neurological complications to intensify the control of mosquito populations and to expedite the development of diagnostic tests and vaccines to protect people at risk, especially during pregnancy. Why are they so concerned with pregnant women? Depopulation. Don't you see that they are after depopulation? This is another scheme plotted by your government in order to depopulate the plane. That is exactly what they are trying to do. You could read about it in Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. They cause the problem, offer the solution. What are they trying to do? According to the Georgia Guidestones, which you can also read about, reduce the population to 500 million. The way to do that is through starting with the women, through abortion, through diseases, man-made diseases, so that women cannot have children anymore. The gay agenda, we're seeing that all over the place, and it's upticking, and it's only getting worse from here. So I just thought it was interesting, and I'll leave these links below so you can see exactly what that agenda is. Now, here I'm going to share with you some mainstream media articles just so that you can see what the so-called experts say about this. I'm on The Guardian. It says, Zika virus could be bigger global health threat than Ebola, say health experts. Now, what I find funny about this, and I did a video on this, and I'll leave the link for that video too. We know Ebola was a hoax to begin with, and a lot of what I talk about in my Ebola video I'll be talking about here. But yes, Ebola was in fact a hoax. Your government went over to Africa to inject that so-called diseases into people, into African people in Liberia and Nigeria, and when they were there, they caused the disease and then named it Ebola, and that's exactly what they're doing here with Zika virus as well. So it's just interesting how they're already trying to do what? They're spreading the word already, and they're making it a worldwide global problem. Notice how with other diseases it was only a small problem, but now they're trying to make it a worldwide problem, new world order. And as you can see in this picture, children in the Dominican Republic running from fumes as Air Force personnel fumigate against the Aedes aegypti mosquito vector of the Zika virus. And notice how in the mosquito is named, the word Egypt is in there. I just thought that was interesting. But fumigation, whoa, hold up, that should raise some serious red flags, because if they're fumigating, who knows what's in that fumigation? That could be all types of chemicals and poisons. See how they're causing the problem and trying to offer a solution of depopulation, because fumigation is only going to make you sicker and going to make you worse. It's not going to help the problem if there's even a problem to begin with. So let's keep going. According to The Guardian, the Zika virus outbreak in Latin America could be a bigger threat to global health than the Ebola pandemic that killed more than 11,000 people in Africa. Anytime you see this bigger threat, or, oh, there's a threat that we need to fight off, New World Order. That's exactly what they are trying to do, and the World Health Organization is behind it. They're all behind it. Monsanto, your government, the Jewish Zionists, they are all behind the same scheme, which is what? Depopulation. And they're trying to do it with children and women especially, and especially through pregnancy. And I hope you're able to see that and just see how important it is. This is the stark claim of several senior health experts ahead of an emergency meeting of the WHO on Monday, which will decide whether the Zika threat, which is linked to an alarming rise in cases of fetal deformation called microcephaly, should be rated a global health crisis. And like I just showed you the articles earlier, and I'll leave links below, they have in fact deemed it a global health crisis. Now, like I said, anytime you see the word global or global threat or global crisis, new world order. And as you can see, there is no prospect of a vaccine for Zika at present. In contrast, to Ebola, for which several are now under trial. So you can see they're trying, what are they trying to do? They're trying to develop a vaccine. It says the real problem is that trying to develop a vaccine that would have to be tested on pregnant women is a practical and ethical nightmare, added maternal head of infection and immunobiology at the Wellcome Trust. And we all know how dangerous vaccines really are and how they do not help the problem. They only make it worse. So I'm here to tell you that what's the problem they're causing? They're causing this man-made disease in order to spread a pandemic, in order to start a pandemic, and for population reduction, depopulation. As you can see, children being under fumigation, that is very dangerous. Children should not be subjected to that. Vaccines only make you feel much worse. And it says they show no symptoms, but we know just how made up all this is to begin with. And so I'm going to go here as well to another report of Jamaica reports its first case of the Zika virus, and I'm on USA Today. And the reason I'm reporting this is because it's important that you see just how fast they're trying to spread this and say that it's because of mosquitoes and how they're trying to blame the problem on anything other than what the problem really is. According to this, officials confirmed the Caribbean nation's first case of the Zika virus Saturday in a 4-year-old child who recently returned from a trip to Texas. Now, as you can see, they're starting with children. Why would they need to start with children for this? Just questions to think about. And why is it always having to do with young children and women? Depopulation. Cause the problem, offer the solution. That is your New World Order government's agenda. There is an agenda behind this. And I'm going to show to you soon and prove to you that this disease is in fact man-made, and the difference between what mainstream media will tell you and lie to you about versus the actual truth. Now, like I said, you need to see the agenda behind it. It says the Zika virus has infected 2,100 pregnant Colombians, health officials say. Of course, that's just what they say. And it says that these cases are reported in Brazil as well. So we see that it's already starting. But like I said, it's starting in pregnant women. It's starting with children. Depopulation. If you can depopulate the plane, you have more control of the people who are already there. And like I said, what are they trying to do? According to the World Health Organization, they are trying to monitor and surveillance. They want full-fledged surveillance of the world. Travel warnings have already been issued. It's only going to be worse from there. I'll leave a link for this article so you can read it yourself. I'm not going to read it right here, but I just wanted to show you that how they're targeting pregnant women and children especially. Now I'm also going to show you the real truth behind what's going on here. It's not surprise us that this disease is in fact man-made, but just how similar and how stark similarities show us that this disease is not what we really think it is, and that mainstream media has a lot of holes in what they're really telling us. And I'm at this website called hangthebankers.com, and the website's pretty much self-explanatory, but I'm here to show you what the real agenda is. And I'm going to go over most of this article with you, but it says Zika virus outbreak exactly where genetically modified mosquitoes were released just last year in 2015. Huh, is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And it says the WHO announced it will convene an emergency committee under international health regulations on Monday, February 1st, concerning the Zika virus explosive spread throughout the Americas. The virus reportedly has the potential to reach pandemic proportions, possibly around the globe, but understanding why this outbreak happened is vital to curbing it. And as the statement said, a causal relationship between the Zika virus infection and birth malformations and neurological syndromes is strongly suspected. These links have rapidly changed the risk profile of Zika from a mild threat to one of alarming proportions. Now, like I said, they're concerned about this threat or situations for 4 main reasons. The possible association of infection with birth malformations and neurological syndromes. Like I said, they're going after pregnant women and children. The potential for a further international spread given the wide geographical distribution of the mosquito vector. Like I said, if you can read between the lines, what they're really trying to say is that they're what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this a worldwide global problem when really they're the problems. And the third reason, the lack of population immunity in newly affected areas. So basically they're trying to say, oh, there's no cure for the disease that they came up with. And four, the absence of vaccines, specific treatments, and rapid diagnostic tests. Now, why would that be a concern for them? Because the vaccines and treatments, if they do come up with them, which they don't need to, they're the ones who caused the problem to begin with, and it's more than likely a hoax to begin with. But it's just interesting how the treatments they do come up with will be to do what? To serve the agenda, the New World Order agenda, depopulation. And of course, they want to tell us that the concern is high, it's a global threat, because that's the New World Order agenda. Now, what's interesting is he goes on to say Zika seemingly exploded out of nowhere. Though it was first discovered in 1947, cases only sporadically occurred throughout Africa and southern Asia. In 2007, the first case was reported in the Pacific. In 2013, a smattering of small outbreaks and individual cases were officially documented in Africa and the Western Pacific. They also began showing up in the Americas. In May 2015, Brazil reported its first case of Zika virus, and the situation changed dramatically. So now Brazil is considered the epicenter of this outbreak, which coincides with at least 4,000 reports of babies born with microcephaly just since October and how it affects them. But what's the real problem at hand? I'm going to scroll down and show you that it seemed that it spread in one area. It seems, and this is the area or the location where genetically modified mosquitoes were first released into the wild. Is that a coincidence? And it shows you a map of the cases where this so-called disease spread and how it's spreading. But it just goes to show that these mosquitoes are genetically altered so that the vast majority of their offspring will die before they mature. And this is a doctor who published this in a report in September 2010. And you can read that report here on your own. But what is that proving? That's proving that if mosquitoes were genetically modified, who do you think is behind that? I'll let you think about that, and I'll show you one more resource that I think you need to see. Here I am at the Daily Sheeple, and this website's also good because it's also alternative, so it's not reporting what mainstream media is reporting and the lies that they're reporting. And it says, is the dreaded Zika virus another giant scam? Because yes, we know Ebola is in fact a hoax. So let's keep going. It says, hysteria sells, and it's hysteria time again. Let me run it down for you. This is the world. The dreaded Zika virus. Watch out. It's carried by mosquitoes. It can cause birth defects. Babies are born with very small heads and impaired brains. Because that's exactly what they are reporting. And what was the big issue? Pregnant women were not allowed to travel to 22 countries in Latin America and Africa. And these cases are now even being reported in Europe. So you can see just the type of fear-mongering that's going on. What is your government trying to do? They are fear-mongering you into believing that there is a problem when they're the ones causing the problem to begin with, causing all this hysteria. For what? Depopulation. Even they say it as well. So we now have governments warning women not to get pregnant. A new form of depopulation. New World Order. Agenda 2030 has begun, folks. If you look up Agenda 2030 in the documents from the UN, the agenda is implemented by January 1st, 2016. That was only not even a month ago, folks. It is starting. And the fact is, there's just not enough evidence to even support that this is even a real disease because, like I said, Ebola is a hoax. So the question is, what is the agenda here? Because right now, there's a lot that they're telling us, but it's not making sense. It's not science. To claim this is a virus and to claim that this causes pregnancy and birth defects with little to no research within a week's period of time to the general public should be raising some red flags. And the question is, who benefits from it? Of course, the genetically engineered companies, which is called Oxitec, and your New World Order government, the Jewish Zionists. They're the ones who benefit. Is the agenda? Is there even an outbreak to begin with? Is there even a virus at all? That's up to you to decide. But based on all of this, it seems like it's another attempt for what? Operation Depopulation, Operation Georgia Guidestones, Operation UN Agenda 2030. That's what it sounds like, folks. And like I said, what is the number one thing that the government's going to try to do come New World Order? Is what? Pandemic, man-made pandemic, man-made diseases. We know for a fact that AIDS is in fact a man-made disease. We know for a fact that all of this is man-made, perpetrated by your government, by this organization right here, New World Order. And if you can see, there is a serpent right in the middle. Why am I telling you this? Because you need to know the agenda. Do not be freaked out by this. Do not get vaccines or the treatments that they try to give you, because what are they trying to do? Depopulation. They cause the problem by saying there's a virus, by saying there's an outbreak, by saying there's a pandemic, and then they offer their own solution, which is what? Fumigation, vaccines, and treatments that are only designed to kill you and make you even worse. And if you saw the movie The Fifth Wave, they even tell you that one of the waves is in fact pandemic. And you don't think they're going to do this? Now, is the Zika virus going to be the pandemic that spreads worldwide? I don't know. It could be something else. It could be. What I'm telling you though is you need to see the warning signs ahead of time and know what the real agenda is. And hopefully you see the agenda, Operation Depopulation. This is Truth Unveiled. Shalom.